G'day guys, Fitcho here, and today we're going to be seeing what would happen if Formula 1 raced with equal cars. So I've dived into the F1 2018 game files and I've modded it so every single team now has the exact same car performance, so it is all down to the pace of each individual AI, and obviously Codemasters put a fair bit of effort into all 20 driver AIs to make them as realistic as they can and give us the best possible and most authentic Formula 1 game experience that they can. Now it's going to be interesting to see who does actually come out on top, but not only that, how close the action is actually going to be on the circuit. With every car having the same straight line speed, the same cornering ability and all that stuff, it should make for a lot closer racing. And speaking of racing, I've picked a track which can provide us with some really good racing, a track I very much do enjoy. The track that hosted the first ever Formula 1 Grand Prix. In fact, we are heading to Silverstone today, and we're going to kick things off with a one-shot qualifying session before we get into a 25% race. But before we do all that, make sure you do click the subscribe button if you guys are new to the channel. It really does help me out, along with the like button. I very much do appreciate it. Without further ado, let's hit the track. Here we go for one-shot qualifying at Silverstone. I am driving as Marcus Ericsson because we know where he's going to be, towards the back, a few tenths off Charles Leclerc. Plus, I do really like his helmet. It's through Abbey and Farm we do go. We actually pop up into the lead of this qualifying session, but I do struggle through this new loop section of the track as Sebastian Vettel. Now Ricciardo is leading this qualifying session as through Aintree we now go out on to the Wellington Straight, and we've dropped all the way down to 19th place. Not the start that we wanted, but I will claw it back throughout the rest of this lap. But it's Ricciardo that continues to lead. I'm going to try my best to keep my eye on whoever is leading this session, that ghost up ahead, while I do try to drive this beast of a Formula 1 car in the Saubers. Now we head onto the old pit straight, still languishing down in 18th place as we head down to Copse. Can I hold it? Flat, the tiniest little bit of a lift, and we gain a few positions there. And now to the part of the circuit I really do enjoy. How can you not love Maggots and Beckett's? It is an epic sequence of corners, and I carry so much more speed through there than the AI, and we're already up into 6th position. Make that 5th as we got a great run down the Hangar Straight, and Ricciardo continues to lead. It surprised me how long he has stayed in the lead of the sessions. We take way too much curb there through Stowe. Not the best line in the world. There's now only a couple of corners left to go in this session. Got a little bit deep, and that's compromised our line through the two right-handers, and out of the final corner up to the line. Ricciardo takes pole, and I think we were P8. So, Daniel Ricciardo has taken pole, but Fernando Alonso joins him on the front row of the grid, only half a tenth separating those two. Then it's Vettel and Verstappen on the second row of the grid, and then it was a dead heat between Raikkonen and Hamilton, and Nico Hülkenberg was within a tenth of Lewis Hamilton there. And then there's myself, Marcus Ericsson, a little bit out of place, and you actually got a Renault of Hülkenberg in front of Valtteri Bottas. That is quite interesting to see. And then Carlos Sainz rounding out the top 10 with Stoffel Van Dorn up next. That's the two Haas's, Kevin Magnussen getting the upper hand there, then Gasly, Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc in 16th place. Ocon in 18th, so Leclerc and Ocon 16th and 18th position respectively. That does surprise me a little bit, especially with how much hype is around both of those young drivers. Leclerc on his way to Ferrari next year, but he's only the 16th quickest AI around this circuit with everyone in the exact same machinery. And both the Williams guys still there at the back and a long way off the rest of the field. Stroll 4 tenths off Ocon, and Sergei Sorokin 4 tenths off his teammate, 2.1 seconds off pole position. That surprised me a lot, the size of that gap. Here we go, we're on the grid at Silverstone, the lights are coming on and we are ready to race. And it's lights out, and away we go. This Equal Cars Grand Prix is underway. A fair bit of wheel spin off the line. Not the ideal start in the world, as Bottas is looking to our outside down into turn number 1. It says yellow flags further back in the pack is now up the inside of Hülkenberg. We are going to go as Ricciardo and Alonso are side by side for the lead. Vettel and Verstappen side by side for 3rd place. Then me and Hülkenberg side by side over 7th place, around the outside of the hairpin, around the outside of Aintree. We get pushed a little bit wide. I understeered a little bit wide. That's lift out of the throttle, trying to get up his inside, but Bottas is now having a go at us. He's going up the inside of Hülkenberg. I was looking to the outside through Brooklands, and now we are fighting the fin. This is getting really messy, but we have the inside line through Luffield back onto the power. We're going to have the inside line through Woodcote, but he's going to get the toe off Hülkenberg as we head down towards Copse. We're going to keep ourselves up the inside of the Mercedes. Can we push him out through Copse? Yes, we can, and we get back ahead of Bottas into 8th place, and I think I might have left him vulnerable to Carlos Sainz, but we're not fussed about that. We now have to set our sights on this lead pack of 7 cars. It looks like a Red Bull is leading this Grand Prix. Alonso, then Vettel, then the other Red Bull, followed by Raikkonen, Hamilton, Hülkenberg, and there's a bit of a gap back to myself as we get down to Stowe for the first time in this Grand Prix. They've really backed up through the last couple of corners, and that is allowing us to catch up as Daniel Ricciardo is leading at the end of lap number 1. He's converted his pole into the race lead, as it looks like Hülkenberg is all over the back of Lewis Hamilton. It wouldn't surprise me if it is a little bit more subdued on this lap, but once we hit lap 3, DRS gets activated. That's when things are all going to kick off in this race, I do think, and we're just going to sit in behind Hülkenberg. I might actually try to save a little bit ERS, so when the DRS does come active, we can then really go on the attack. This is where the fun starts. DRS for the first time in this Grand Prix, and Bottas is closer to us than we are to Hülkenberg, but he's not quite close enough to launch it up our inside into Brooklands, and we live for another day. We can continue to focus our attention forwards on Hülkenberg as we have a little bit of a moment there through Luffield. Is now out onto the old pit straight. Bottas is big in our rear view mirrors. Here he comes. He's going to go up the inside of Copse. Can we hold this around the outside? Yes, I think we can. Still ever so slightly side by side with Bottas down into Maggots and Beckett's. We try to give him the racing room. That's really compromised our run through here and our chance at catching up to Hülkenberg and the lead 7, as it looks very, very close on the minimap between the top 3 as we head down towards Stowe. It looks like there is possibly a change of lead, or is that it? Vettel's jumped all the way up into first, I should say, from 3rd place. I'm trying to commentate this from a distance back here, looking at the minimap while driving my own car. Alonso is in 3rd, Ricciardo 2nd, and Vettel has jumped from 3rd up to the lead of this Grand Prix, and it really looks like Hülkenberg is pressuring the back of Lewis Hamilton. As on to lap number 4 we do go. In the slipstream of Hülkenberg, DRS open, but he's in the slipstream of Hamilton with his DRS open as well. It's going to be difficult to make moves through this pack with everyone with the same equal engine, same slipstream, and the DRS. The only easy move, I guess, will be from 2nd up attacking the leader who doesn't have the advantage of the slipstream or the DRS flap. As into Copse, we do go a little bit of understeer through there, and now we're heading down to Maggots and Beckett's. This is where I am super fast. We want to get a nice run through here to try to get the best run out onto the hangar straight and give us the best chance at getting past the Renault of Hülkenberg. DRS flap open into overtake mode in the slipstream of the Renault, and we're going to look up his inside as we head up the hangar straight down into Stowe, and we should be able to get this move done. Up into 7th place we go. Through Chapel we go out onto the hangar straight in the slipstream of Hamilton as we go purple in that sector, and it looks like Ricciardo has jumped up into the lead of the Grand Prix, and we're going to go up the inside of Hamilton down into Stowe, and now we're going to dive off into the pit lane. How aggressive can we be on the pit lane entrance? I do forget where it is. There we go, just in time. That was actually quite a nice entry, to be fair to myself, as we have a lot of cars in the pit lane. Just look how close this whole field is after 5 laps of this Grand Prix. The Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, a Sauber in there as well, just for the sake of things. And our pit lane position is not going to help us here at all. It's not going to help Hülkenberg either, or especially not Fernando Alonso. Here we go onto the medium tyres. We do go switch those tyres, drop us, and green. Oh, we had a second there. It went green for such a short period of time, and there we go. We slot out ahead of Ricciardo, but in behind Fernando Alonso, so the race leader has dropped down behind us and a couple other cars. It looks like it was at a Mercedes right at the front. I am not too sure. We did have a Mercedes come into the pits as well, and I don't really know how that has shaken up the order, but it'll be interesting to see once all the other guys do pit that couldn't pit because they would have stacked this time around. Oh, here comes Daniel Ricciardo up our inside, down the Wellington straight. I was trying to save a little bit of ERS, but no mercy from the Red Bull driver, and he sneaks his Red Bull past our Sauber. And now we're just going to try to latch onto the back of Ricciardo, try to get a nice tow from that Red Bull, as we do struggle a bit there out of Luffield and onto the old pit straight. Oh, we have a nice run on Ricciardo with the DRS. We're going to look up his inside down into Stowe, and we should be able to get that move done on the fellow Aussie. And we do, and this is where it's going to be interesting. Where is everyone going to filter back out? How much has that undercut helped us? Although we did get caught a little bit in the lane, not as bad as I perhaps expected would do. Is now out onto the pit straight. We do go a lot of cars in the pit lane. If you look at the minimap through Abbey, we do go, or we've run a little bit too wide there, and Carlos Sainz has actually managed to jump us there in the Renault, which is not what we wanted at all. We're going to try to line up the Renault through the loop. We going out through Aintree onto the Wellington straight. His tyres are cold. We have DRS. We have a tow. We don't have any power advantage, even though it's technically a Ferrari on a Renault. Of course, we've made this all equal cars, and up the inside of Sainz we do go, and we get that move done. And looking at the mini-map, it looks like two Ferraris have found themselves in the lead of this Grand Prix, followed by the two Mercedes. How has that happened, considering it was Red Bull and McLaren going at it right at the front before these stops? There is a really big battle pack going on just in front of us. I think it's Verstappen, Alonso, and the two Mercedes. They are really going at it, and it looks like Hamilton has prevailed there. Then it's Alonso, Bottas, and Verstappen, and their fighting is allowing us to catch up, but that's not helping this whole pack catch up to the two lead Ferraris. As out onto the Wellington straight we do go, saving a little bit of ERS while we can here. We're not quite close enough to attack, and we do have the DRS and a bit of a tow pulling us along, so we'll just charge up that battery while we do have the opportunity to. Down the hangar straight we go. Alonso pulls up the inside of Lewis Hamilton down into Stowe. Can he get this move done? Trying to muscle out his ex-teammate at McLaren, still side by side, is now down into the Vale chicane we do go. We are really closing up to these guys now, as Bottas and Verstappen just have nowhere to go in behind these fighting duo, as the Ferraris are just skipping even further away. As now Bottas is having a go at his teammate, I should say, into turn number one. Verstappen's checked up really, really badly. This has given us an opportunity to get past two cars. Is Hamilton going to give us space ever so slightly, just enough that we can squeeze through and keep our front wing intact? As now out of the loop through Aintree onto the Wellington straight we go. DRS flap is open in the slipstream of the Mercedes, but he has DRS and a slipstream off his teammate down into Brooklands, and we're not quite close enough to do anything about Hamilton. Through Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel out onto the hangar straight. A nice run through there in the slipstream of Hamilton as Bottas goes to the outside of Alonso. Can we get up the inside of Hamilton into Stowe? Yes, we can. Up the inside of the Brit. He's trying to go right around our outside, and he holds it around the outside of Stowe. I need to hold it around the outside of Vale, and the advantage comes back to me. Through Club we go, and we can squeeze out the Brit at home, and we take away 5th position up. Now behind Fernando Alonso. Then it's Bottas, and those two Ferraris have still skipped off down the road. They got really, really lucky through the pit stop phase. Alonso goes to the inside of Bottas into Copse. That's an aggressive move from Fernando Alonso, and he pulls it off, and now we have got a massive run on Bottas as we head down into Maggots and Beckett's. We just have nothing we can do with it. It's not really an overtaking opportunity into Maggots and Beckett's. We're trying to get a nice run through there out onto the hangar straight, and we get past Bottas. Such a good run onto the hangar straight. Can we possibly get Alonso too? Up the inside of Stowe, late and aggressive, and we push the McLaren out, and we get that move done, and we are now up into a podium place. And now the fight is on towards those two Ferraris, as it looks like Sebastian Vettel is currently leading this British Grand Prix. Oh, Kimi Räikkönen is off. He is retired with some sort of mechanical failure, and that has promoted us up into 2nd place. And now we are trying to chase down Sebastian Vettel, the lone Ferrari remaining out in the lead of this Grand Prix. But we still have to worry about Fernando Alonso and that trailing pack. We have not been able to shake them just yet. Alonso is within DRS. You can see he is really gaining up down this hangar straight. Here comes Fernando Alonso down the Wellington straight. We are a sitting duck down into Brooklands, but he's not quite close enough to get up our inside, as we are onto the penultimate lap of this Equal Cars Grand Prix at Silverstone. A bit of a shoddy exit out of Luffield, and that could leave us vulnerable into Copse. Here comes Fernando Alonso. We're going to try to go defensive, but he really wants to get up our inside into the fast right-hander, and we hold it around his outside. And I can actually up my ERS a little bit. I haven't been making the most of that, as it looked like Bottas thought about trying to get past Alonso into Maggots and Beckett's, because he had a very compromised run out of Copse after that failed overtake attempt. And we should be safe down at the hangar straight for this time, at least, with Alonso not quite close enough for DRS, but not close enough to attack us. And Sebastian Vettel wins the race, and we cross the line in second place. There we go. A 25% race with Eagle cars, and that was pretty insane. It did quieten down a little bit after the pit stops, because that sort of broke up the big train that we were in. But when I was recording this, I had a failed attempt that got ruined by a huge frame rate drop, a big sort of freeze. And I'm actually going to drop that in the first 5 laps of that attempt, because that was absolutely mental, more mental than the first 5 laps of this. And then I'll get back to the results of this after you watch and enjoy those 5 laps. It looks like some moving and shaking is happening further up the field. It looks like Alonso has made a move on Ricciardo for the lead of the Grand Prix. Has he pulled it off? I think he might have, looking at the minimap, and it is continuing down into the final couple of corners, and Alonso has muscled Ricciardo out for the lead of the Grand Prix. Now Vettel is trying to have a crack at the Red Bulls as he finds himself in a nice little sandwich there, and we just don't really have anywhere to go. Through Abbey we go. They're still going side by side, and they've all checked up really badly through Farm, and we're going to go up the inside of 2 of them, up the inside of Raikkonen as well, as he had a huge lockup. He turned in on us just a little bit, but it was wheel-face to wheel-face contact, and we get through that unscathed. It looks like they're still going at it, and Alonso has pulled out a big lead from all this battling up ahead, as they're going 3 wide of Vettel on the inside of both the Red Bulls, while we're going 2 wide with Kimi Raikkonen. So much is happening, I just don't even know what to say here. And we're pushing back up the inside of Raikkonen through Luffield, as Vettel has found his way past Ricciardo up into second place, and Hamilton is sitting there waiting to pounce, as we are still going side by side with Kimi Raikkonen as we head down towards Copse. What can we do? We're on the inside line, the preferable line, and we can push out Raikkonen. Hamilton has followed us through there. On Raikkonen through Copse is now into Maggots and Beckett's we go. Look how close the 3 in front are going. Vettel followed by the 2 Red Bulls, and we get a mega run. Now we've got the DRS flap open. We're right in the slipstream of Max Verstappen. Ricciardo's to the outside of Vettel. We're to the inside of Verstappen. We have such a good run. We might be able to get Vettel as well up the inside. Careful, Ricciardo. I go a bit deep on the brakes. Vettel trying to switch back under us, but he can't do that. And somehow we've made our way up into 3rd place, and I need to take a breath. So, there we have it. Sebastian Vettel has won the Grand Prix. Myself there in second with Bottas in 3rd, Fernando Alonso 4th, then it's Verstappen, Sainz, Ricciardo, and Van Dorn. And just scrolling down the order very quickly. Obviously, Raikkonen retired, but something happened with Lewis Hamilton. He had to make a second pit stop, so he got severely screwed over, and so did Nico Hülkenberg, falling down the order. That is part of the problem, I guess, with the field being that close together. In the pit lane, you can really lose out, and I thought it might have hurt us a little bit more than it did in that race. We did get a little bit lucky. If it had been a bit more condensed, we would have been screwed that far down in the pit lane, but I was pleasantly surprised with how close the whole field stayed, the top 7 or 8 at least, for those first 5 laps, up until that pit stop sequence. We were so close on track, and the racing was phenomenal. It was so awesome. Of course, it did get split up a little bit throughout the pit stop phase, but having everyone in the same car was absolutely epic, and I'd love to see, I don't want Formula 1 to turn into this because it goes against the DNA of the sport, but I'd love to see them get all the F1 drivers into a spec car just for a one-off race somewhere. That would be super entertaining, I do think. But that's going to do it for this video today, guys. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure you do leave a like. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.